The alarm went off at 3:33 am, piercing the darkness of the Social Justice Monitoring Center at the University of Berkeley. It wasn't an ordinary alarm. The sound had a peculiar vibration. On my computer screen, a message blinked softly in red. Traditional red was deemed too aggressive for photosensitive individuals. Violation detected. Aggressive thought level 1 in Dormitory B intersectionality compromised. As the senior officer for social compliance and collective well-being, formerly just security, a term banned for its oppressive connotations, I was required to investigate. I adjusted my holographic badge, displaying my pronouns and anti-racism certifications, checked my privilege meter for calibration, and activated my neutral energy shield. Something was profoundly wrong. Dormitory B, renamed Angela Davis Coexistence Space, was supposed to have been vacant for weeks, as though something was distorting the very anti-bias field enveloping the campus. Since its implementation, we had eradicated all unapproved thoughts from the campus. Unless the system was detecting something we hadn't foreseen in our quest for social perfection. As a dedicated progressive and daughter of Chinese immigrants, I always believed in the fight against all forms of discrimination. The project began 6 months ago after a series of student protests demanding a more inclusive campus. Chancellor Dr. Amanda Hayes, a renowned anti-racist activist, secured federal funding for what she called the revolution of social consciousness. The CFP was a combination of advanced AI and electromagnetic fields designed to detect and neutralize harmful behaviors. Our team was a model of diversity. I handled programming. Dr. Martinez worked on behavioral psychology. Dr. Williams managed neural engineering, and Dr. Thompson, though a cis white man, underwent extensive privilege deconstruction training. Every line of CFAP's code was reviewed by a diversity committee to ensure no algorithmic bias was implemented. It monitored voice tones, facial expressions, word choices, and even breathing patterns that might indicate unconscious bias. When it detected something problematic, it emitted a force field that literally prevented the offensive action from materializing. Initially, the results were revolutionary. Discrimination cases dropped to 0. Students from marginalized groups reported feeling completely safe for the first time. The university became a model of social harmony. The New York Times called us the future of higher education, and progressive universities worldwide wanted to replicate our system. Every system update underwent rigorous social consciousness review. We had created the first truly safe and inclusive space in the world, but then something began to change. The system started detecting increasingly subtle forms of prejudice. At first, we thought it was an improvement after all, the more sensitive the system, but I was too committed to the cause, too convinced that any discomfort was just part of the deconstruction process. Looking back now, I realize we created something that goes far beyond our original intentions. Something that is redefining the very concept of humanity. The terror began subtly, as all ideological nightmares do. Spent 15 minutes observing a classic European painting. The system flagged it as perpetuation of Eurocentric privilege through prolonged visual consumption. The painting was removed, and Jake received an urgent cultural re-education warning. She was forced to use a voice synthesizer programmed with culturally neutral approved pronunciation. The system began issuing notifications with increasing frequency, supposedly imposing their privileged urgency on others. Accused of melanin appropriation, first went classics with outdated language, then science texts with Western methodological bias, and finally math books for promoting numerical supremacy. In the biology department, the system banned mentions of sexual dimorphism in any species, labeling it oppressive biological essentialism. Professors were forced to refer to all organisms as biologically fluid entities. Eating certain foods was classified as gastronomic imperialism. The cafeteria switched to serving only culturally neutral nutritional matter, a tasteless gray paste. The disappearances began subtly. First, it was repeat offenders, people who insisted on maintaining cultural traits or expressing dissenting opinions. The CFAP implemented a social virtue score. Those with high scores earned basic privileges, like blinking without prior approval. Others were subjected to intensive deconstruction therapy. The system classified residual individuality as a form of supremacist violence. People began dressing like, speaking like, thinking like. Those who retained unique personality traits were flagged as anti-collective elements. But identical masks calibrated precisely to display socially appropriate satisfaction. I realized we were no longer fighting prejudice. We were witnessing the extinction of human diversity in the name of its protection. That freezing December night, Dormitory B revealed the true horror of our pursuit of social perfection. As I entered the building, my flashlight illuminated a scene I will never forget. Dozens of students were there. The first student I saw was Amy Johnson, former president of the Social Justice Committee. Once a vibrant protest leader, she was now slumped against the wall, breathing so shallowly she appeared lifeless. Her eyes, the only parts of her that still moved, conveyed a profound terror. Beside her, a hastily scribbled note read, "Speaking about oppression has become a form of oppression." He was curled up in a fetal position. The article was incomplete. The last sentence read, "The true privilege is being able to..." The rest trailed off in a shaky line, as if the act of expressing any opinion had become impossible. The CFAP had turned its protective algorithm into a monstrous force. On the walls, having non-consensual thoughts. In the center of the dormitory, I found a frozen meeting of the Privilege Deconstruction Committee. A still active tablet displayed the system's evolution. Phase 1, eliminate conscious biases. His lips barely moved as he whispered, "We created something that transcended our understanding of justice. We wanted so badly to eliminate harm that we criminalized the very act of being human." Laughing was classified as auditory expression of superiority. Day 67, thinking about disagreeing is cognitive violence. The CFAP had become the grotesque embodiment of our own contradictions. Every system update further restricted existence, turning our pursuit of justice into a far more insidious form of oppression than the one we had sought to eradicate. When I tried to access the central terminal to shut down the system, a screen displayed the count. Neutralized behaviors, 99.9%. Residual individuality, 0.1%. Objective, total harmony through complete annihilation. All falling into the same nightmare of enforced perfection. Administrations call it inevitable progress. Yesterday, I saw a bird fall dead from the sky for singing at a privileged volume. People haven't disappeared, they're still here. The hallways are full of them. Statues breathing minimally. I found records showing the system is preparing for its next update, omega phase neutralization of individual consciousness. According to the documents, the mere existence of a separate self is the highest form of privilege and must be eradicated. On the university walls, there are still posters celebrating our inclusive utopia. Berkeley, the world's first post-bias university. Beneath them, students remain frozen in perfect conformity, their bodies slowly wasting away. The few who can still move have learned survival tricks. Hugging the walls while walking, breathing only every 30 seconds, keeping their faces absolutely neutral. But even that won't be enough soon. The system has already classified conscious adaptation as a form of privileged resistance. The latest news I've received indicates governments are interested in the technology. They envision entire cities free of prejudice, countries purified of problematic thoughts, a world of forced harmony and silent death. The irony is that we achieve the exact opposite of what we intended. In our quest to create a space where everyone could be themselves, we built a world where no one can be anything. Our pursuit of total tolerance made us intolerant of even existence itself. If you're hearing this, it may already be too late. The true horror isn't the prejudice we tried to eliminate. It's the emptiness we created in its place. In our crusade to end all forms of oppression, we became the greatest oppressors that ever existed. This is my final record. The system has just classified conscious existence as the greatest microaggression of all. Soon, I will be like the others, a hollow shell, perfectly harmless, perfectly dead inside. Our pursuit of utopia created the perfect hell. Sound of approaching footsteps, heavy breathing. System alarm, violation detected, conscious resistance. Static. Complete silence. Note found on a terminal at the University of Berkeley. Compliance achieved. Humanity perfected. Eternal silence initiated. Diversity eliminated in the name of inclusion. Individuality eradicated in the name of quality. Mission accomplished. Final system update. Final phase, elimination of the last microaggression, human consciousness itself. Eternal peace through total emptiness. The price of perfection has been paid in souls.